Hey, folks, it's Lindsey Hustle with SPS back in the building. The SPS Edge, that is for SPS Edge Show. Got the crew on deck. I got Terry McCord Jr., I got John and Patrick Rutherford, and also got Orlando Watkins on the ones and twos. Glad to have everybody here. Hey, it's been a great week. It's been a huge week in sports, all the way down to the very late night. Patrick Beverly pushing people in the back, like that's all about. But it has been something indeed, man. So we got a real full schedule. We welcome our guests, and always I appreciate this esteemed panel. John and Patrick, Terry, how you guys doing?
Good.
Great. I gotta give props. You were out, Terry, but man, John, man, getting all these MVP awards. I'm getting all these SP requests. Everybody talking about John, and then they saying Patrick be going in too. But they don't know the young Jedi is still on deck, ready to go. We get some really good feedback. So just to give people a heads up as they join, if they go back and they start at the beginning, I want to shout out Aaron Mays. Want to shout out my big bro, Alton Gunn, who gave me a lot of content. He came and hung out with me over this past weekend for the B-Day. Always been very insightful. But we're going to talk about a number of things today. We're going to talk about the NCAA, and today, Thursday, July 1st, being the first day that the NCAA allows the name, image, and likeness to start. And you already got some Hurricanes hitting the beach hard, cashing in on that. Some Miami players cashing in on that. We're going to talk about Chauncey Billups and Jason Kidd and their coaching hires, and also the controversy that's coming behind their hires. It's like all this stuff is coming out from 20 years ago all of a sudden. We'll talk about that. Shout out to Coach Thomas Wilcher. Had a chance to highlight Coach Wilcher earlier and his new role going on in Michigan State as an analyst. Cade Cunningham, is he going to take the Pistons to the promised land? And I guess a perfect transition to that is NBA playoffs and CP3 finally making it to the finals, and we'll see what happens from there. But as always, we welcome your question and comments at the SPS Edge. You can get us on YouTube. Some of us see us on YouTube. Shout out to my guy, Demetrius Blackshears. I think he's your number one fan right now, John. My guy, Meathead. He loves so John, and how you go. When he say, John, be going in, he love that. Shout out to Carl, too. So with that, let's just start with today being the first day of name, image, and likeness. Terry, I'll start with you because it's interesting with you having the most youth on our panel. It's interesting how something like this can start, but by the time you get more season, this is going to be like a part of it. So when you hear name, image, and likeness starting today with the NCAA, and I don't know if you heard about the Miami Hurricane players both getting like $20,000 in endorsements already. I mean, what do you think about the idea and what's happening with it right now?
Finally. I mean, it's one of the things that we've been waiting for, players being able to make money off of their ability. And so I think we're starting to see an age where, I mean, a buddy of mine, Andrell, has already been, looking to advertise himself, as he should.
Shout out to Andrell at the University of Michigan, East Lansing High School receiver. Shout out to Andrell, nice young man. I've had him on the interview before. But go ahead. Oh, Andrell trying to get on already, huh?
Yeah, as he should. I mean, the number one player in Michigan, having that high profile, going to the University of Michigan, really trying to shout out Lansing, and even if it's wearing merch, in the press conferences, doing whatever he can to put his people on, and still being able to keep his image going up. And so I think this gives athletes a chance to prepare themselves for the professional level. I think a lot of times athletes wait to get in that professional mindset of balancing their image. Oh, I got to get my social media platform going, or I got to get my community service thing going. I think this gives athletes a chance to kind of build their image at a young age where they're starting to understand who they are as a person. I mean, 18 is a big year. I mean, you're out on your own. You're out there, trying to build something for yourselves, and putting that money in your pocket is a big way. And so doing that while playing the sport you love, with the money that the NCAA has been making, I mean, I think it's a great opportunity. But I have seen some schools like BYU. I don't know if it's because, it's the school that they are, but I've seen them mention that they are refraining athletes from participating in things like gambling, alcohol, adult entertainment, things like that. So I'm interested to see what other schools kind of follow with that. Maybe some of the private schools like a TCU, SMU, maybe. I'm not sure, but it's interesting to see what schools allow and like what schools you're going to be seeing. I mean, are we going to be seeing, you know, Dick's on MSU, a guy wearing, you know, supporting, you know, Dick's Sporting Goods. We never know.
Yeah, I mean, I think you make an excellent point, and I think from a corporate standpoint, putting my corporate hat on, from being a corporate lobbyist and just watching that, you know, everybody's kind of waiting to see. I guess a great question I have for you, Patrick, is there concern, as Terry so eloquently put it, that so many athletes will start focusing on brand and being so brand conscious that there's a chance that the actual performance will be impacted? Now, instead of me just focusing on being a great athlete at, you know, a Power 5 school, basketball, football, whatever it may be, I'm also on the phone, you know, talk about an endorsement deal. And there are only so many hours in the day. Young people only have an ability to concentrate so much. And speaking of concentration, let me be reminded that I want to shout out the Horatio Williams Foundation for their support of the SPS Edge Show, Gilead Sciences, as well as Dick's Sporting Good, as you put, Terry. But my question goes back to you, Patrick. Do you think there's going to be a huge concern that a lot of these athletes may become overwhelmed and not really have the ability to focus on performing because they're so caught up in being business persons at a young age?
No, I don't. But I think you guys are right, but I think you're looking at it a different way. Like I'm looking at it a different way. Like these guys are gonna sign with agencies. They're not gonna be the ones making all the calls and negotiating. You know, those will be the low level guys that are really that if they have to hustle to make some money. But the Power 5 schools and the best players on the best teams, you know, like if you're the quarterback at Texas or you're a quarterback at Miami, you're signing with an agency and they're going to handle all that stuff for you. And then when it comes to will it affect them, you know, and their play and all that stuff, like, well, then you're just going to affect the bag then. And you weren't ready to be there. You're not ready. You just weren't ready because you have to play good to get paid good.
Sure.
You know, you're put in a position where you're in a popular situation, but you still have to, you know what I mean? You still have to play. You have to perform.
So you don't think that in 12 to 24 months, when we start looking at the data and we look at, let's say, a sophomore that was putting up some great numbers, and by the time he's a senior, there's a potential decline in his numbers, but you also see an uptick in all this other activity. You're saying once these athletes are at that level, they're going to continue to be successful despite adding on the new responsibilities of being brand ambassadors?
Well, that's what they're going for. That's what they go to school for. 99.9% of the athletes that are going Power 5 D1 to the top football programs or top basketball programs want pro careers. So this is what it comes with. I mean, this is what they want. And I mean, you know, let's not act like it hasn't been going on for years. You know, Terry mentioned that they have to build a brand. Mikey's had a brand since he was 12. He's 16. He's got 4 million followers. Like, he's been doing this for years. You don't think that there's a professional helping him? There is.
Right.
You don't even get that far without that.
Sure. John, let me go to you. And you help us so much because you give such a historical context to what's going on. I can't tell you how many calls and notes I got from people saying, you know, from our last discussion, particularly about Bo versus Sparty, that they just didn't know that. They didn't know that. So here's my question. It's kind of a statement first. I want to call bullshit on the NCAA. And the reason why I do want to do that is July 1st, they open up name, image, and likeness. But to me, I look at it as a parent telling you, go spend your uncle's money, don't spend mine. Meaning, yeah, you allow name, image, and likeness to take place and go get your agents. Oh, yeah. And they're like moving post haste. They're making sure it can happen. July 1st, go. But they still sitting on a multi-billion-dollar bag. In other words, they're saying, go hustle and get what you can. We won't put our archaic rules on you. Actually, I'm reading Indentured right now that talks about Boatwright that played for UConn and how he couldn't even play because the ex-boyfriend said that the mom was getting gifts from somewhere else and it just impacted him. And the NCAA came in acting like they were actually representing a legal entity when they're not. They were showing up at this woman's job. I mean, I digress. But now their whole multi-billion-dollar bag is protected. So, John, why don't you give us, from a 30,000-foot view, this idea of just what you think about name, image, and likeness? Am I even on to something by saying, hey, they sending you to spend your uncle's money? compared to spending, their own? And just give me your overall take on it and what you project going forward to how this thing is going to play out in the future for athletes in the NCAA.
Well, first of all, the NCAA announced this yesterday that it would be in effect. There's no rules attached. They gave no blueprint. That's all they said. So, they said, go ahead, do what you want, but there's no rules. So, you're going to be in a situation where this is brand new and kids are going to be scrambling and there's going to be a lot of people. Remember, my father used to always tell me, they say, son, they always tell you that prostitution is the world's oldest profession. He said, that's bullshit. One man trying to separate another man from his money is the world's oldest profession.
The con game, huh?
Well, you're going to have people see money here. And there's going to be, let's just say I'm a basketball player at Michigan State. And I'm going from one building to another on campus. He's going to have 13 nerds with glasses run up to him and say, hey, buddy, I got to wait for you to make 20 grand. Here's how to do it. Now he's got the sharks. We know for a fact that agents hire students at universities across the country
Runners
to influence the players at the college to get them in their fold. Okay. So, this is going to be a brand new thing. It's going to be wild because you're going to have a lot of different people that see dollar signs besides that athlete. He's just part of it. He's the horse that's plowing the field, the mule that's plowing the field. Now, who's coming in to make money off his back? So I'm going to say another thing, too. I know that, like Matt Copeland, the kicker at Michigan State's all excited. He DM'd everybody, I'm ready if you need me for an endorsement. Well, Matt, I wish you all the luck in the world, but, don't go apply for any credit.
Hey, you cracked Terry up with that one. Terry was laughing.
Well, let's face it, there's going to be a degree, okay?
Yeah.
And Terry mentioned it, and Patrick mentioned it, and I agree.
There's going to be some guys that don't get paid.
The Heisman Trophy winner, he may have a chance at Dick's Sporting Goods. He may have a chance somewhere, but defensive tackle at Clemson, if he's not dominating the game, he's got no chance of getting a national brand.
And I think the key, I like how you made the statement, John. I want to stay on this for a second about a national brand that we talk about at Dick's, and we're thankful to have Dick's support and whatnot. But yay to the hustler, like the guy that got the local brand that is working within his community, that has that micro economy going on, and to be able to tell a kid, look, man, I can't give you $20,000 like college hunks, but I can give you $1,000. Or we can
Lindsay, you're perfectly right. Now, they have all these weekend swap meets, okay, where you can buy and sell different stuff, where people go in and rent a booth, Gibraltar Centers or wherever throughout the country. Now, I remember when Dane Fife was at Indiana. In the summertime, they used to go to county fairs in Indiana and sell their autographs.
That was legal?
Well, it was because nothing ever happened. But I'm just saying, when they went to the finals and lost to Maryland, before the next fall, Dan, his father told me he made over $50,000 signing autographs. Okay. Wow. Now, you're onto something, Lindsay. The local appeal and where you go and how you do your hustle. And there's certainly nothing wrong with a kid going out who's not a superstar, whoever, and go make a couple $1,000. That's $2,000 more than the kid had in his pocket before.
All right, last question. I'll put this to you, John, but the rest of the panel, you guys can jump in too before we move. It's kind of open-ended. One, what do you anticipate the majority of these coaches will do as it relates to inserting their influence, i.e. Tom Izzo and these players that are getting accosted between, one hall and the other, and saying, look, I don't want that. And secondly, how far do you think it'll go before you start seeing the NCAA and the IRS, for example, poking their nose around, saying, hey, dang, you was cool when you was just making about $1,000 a week, but we hear that you're making, $10,000 a month through this mom and pop shop or some other thing. Are you paying tax on that? So it's like, do you sense that they're waiting to see how powerful it gets before they start exerting some influence? And I'll start with you on that, John.
Well,
you guys too.
Again, I'll go back to my opening statement. How do you separate a man from his money? The United States government is tremendous at that. So, just like anybody else, you're going to have to take care of your business legally. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to understand that you owe taxes on this money. And I was thinking about what you just said about earlier in the day. And, but the bottom line is this, that, it gives you an opportunity to go out and make money off your skill level and what you do. And this is the right thing to do. I've been for it since Ed O'Bannon sued, trying to get money off the games, the TV games. And I think it's great for the kids, and a coach that doesn't adapt and help. Now, I'm the understanding that Michigan State is building a studio.
Wow.
For its players. It's called the Evergreen Project.
Evergreen, correct.
Okay. And, I heard earlier today someone say, well, what's Nick Saban going to do when Bryce Young is quarterback? He doesn't show up to practice. He's at the car dealership, making a commercial. Well, that's just stupid. And it's a dumb question. He's going to be where he's going to be. But a coach is going to adapt to this thing. They're already calling out Dabo Swinney because in 2019, he made a statement that if players get paid, he's going to quit coaching. Well, you didn't see him resign this morning.
No. Before I go to my guys, I got to shout out my one guy, my wartime consigliere, Roderick Wilson. Thanks for your support. Wow, he posed a question, Patrick.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
You're just seeing the tip of the iceberg here.
Yeah.
First of all, this opens up to, just like in any other situation where you're saying a booster gave this guy $100,000 to go to school here, there's going to be rich boosters at certain schools that could just pay you through their company now legally. Yeah. So now we're talking about if you're the number one quarterback in the state of Texas, you can negotiate a salary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Let me repeat the question. Let me repeat the question that you're speaking on for our listeners. Roderick Wilson said the high-level kids will commit to schools in Florida and Texas
because of no
state tax.
Yeah,
is that a new recruiting tool? And Patrick is speaking to that. Wow, man,
that comes right into you're gonna get pro things that come with this. You're gonna get certain things that come with this. That's what I mean by the agencies and all of that.
That's what pisses me off about the NCAA. That's when they'll get with the feds again and they'll corroborate. And if there's an unfair advantage, if all of a sudden Florida and Texas is leading the way with the top recruits, now all of a sudden you got an FBI sting. You got somebody looking into not necessarily the name, image, and likeness, Terry, but the business practices of said car dealer. Oh, he's known for pass on this and that. So it's almost like they letting all this crap go on. But to your point, John, it's the oldest profession. How can we separate you from your money? Because guess what? They're still keeping their $1 billion purse. Nobody's talking about that.
Yeah,
all you're telling me to do is go and work. I'm saying, why go work when you got all my money? You know what I'm saying? You already got the money I made for you. But you telling me to go work extra hours or whatnot. Terry, what do you think?
No, I was going to go with the coaching question for sure. I mean, imagine, in Miami, Florida, that they're advertising their businesses, but I think the coaches are going to dive into the alumni a little bit. I mean, imagine if Coach Izzo told you, hey, I got Dan Gilbert on the phone right now. We can get you to do some commercials for $50K. I mean, they got Dan Gilbert, Magic Johnson. I think they're going to touch into the whole, we got some alumni. They got businesses. We can get you some endorsements and get you rolling. So, I mean,
why is this any different? I'm getting upset now.
If they don't, they're going to be down.
Yeah, exactly.
Different than a sneaker deal or an AAU hookup, or like because they got out in front and said it's okay. That's why it's different. Why is this any different than what's going to happen in the next 12 days in Atlanta when everybody's down at the AAU tournament and they're working their deals? Why is this any different? That a Tom Izzo, for example, can call a Dan Gilbert and bring said kid in and offer him some money. Why is that any different than a brown bag hookup with somebody say, hey, man, I got a guy who knows a guy? What is the difference? Because they said it was okay? That's why it's different?
And that's exactly why they're pushing, well, Reggie Bush is pushing to get his Heisman.
Well, the NCAA, it's not like they wanted this. They fought this for 10 years. They fought this for a decade.
You know what? But they're like, again, spend your uncle's money. Oh, your uncle, we gonna let your uncle? Okay. Basically, they're saying, and I use this analogy purposely, let the drunk uncle spend his money. And the reason why I say the drunk uncle, because there's a little instability there. There's a little bit of he'll come and he'll spend all his money at the family reunion, but for the rest of the year, he's not to be heard from. But guess what? Those are your problems. I'm gonna stand over here with this bag. I think what we got to keep doing, man, we got to keep revisiting this. I got to calm myself down. So, Orlando, if you can take this.
Well, I got a question for you, though.
Go ahead, Patrick.
Before we move, you would rather it be both? You think they deserve an NCAA check and they can do their name and likeness?
Hey, why
because
you my head, Patrick?
When it comes to an NCAA check, it's not going to be as big as that name and likeness.
But I would argue this. Well, I would argue on its face across the board before we go to a commercial by Team Michigan. I would argue this. It's almost like, and I never worked as a waiter, anything like that, with all due respect to that profession. But it'll be like, I'll take it back, and I won't use that now. It'll be like getting a check from a company. When I was in the corporate offices of Walmart, when I was lobbying for them, you got your salary, which was high end, and you got a huge bonus. I would equate that the NCAA can provide enough that would be considered a base salary because, like you said, it's only a small percentage of kids who will get that lick. And then everything else is in addition to. You think differently, Patrick?
No, because it wouldn't be a small percentage of the kids would get that lick. If the NCAA would have to pay, you're gonna have to pay every athlete.
That's true.
And they can afford to do it.
Absolutely, they can afford it.
They can afford to do it.
What does the going rate of an Alabama national champion get to the guy on the swim
That's
team?
That's true. That is true.
Women's swim team. Women's
agree. Now we're talking Title IX.
Nobody's watching it. Where are they? You know what I mean?
There's no equity there.
You have to pay everybody the same little. It'd be like a monthly stipend that they're already getting.
But you know what? It's something that
probably 10 times bigger. Maybe they get 10, 15,000. But with the name and likeness, a guy like Cade Cunningham, if this would have been implemented when Zion went to Duke, Zion would have made $4 million, $5-6 million.
Easy, I agree.
Then another thing is, when I'm coming to Michigan State. I'm the number one recruit. I'm signing with Adidas. They're gonna pay me $100 million next year. I'm doing an internship this year. They're paying me $1 million.
Right.
Now, do I gotta wear your Nike shoes because the school's Nike? Because that don't have nothing to do with me.
Well, the question is, does the contract that you as players sign, does it override?
That's what I mean.
In there, because they just say I want you. Yeah. But I bet though, if Puma comes in and says, tell a Nike school we'll pay them X amount of dollars still to be able to be a Puma thing, it'll be about the money. And that's why I worry that we may lose that. Let's take a quick break before we come back. We want to support Team Michigan. All they have. This has been a great discussion.
Yeah.
We come back. I think we'll keep an ongoing discussion with name, image, and likeness, but we'll come back and we'll talk about Billups and J. Kidd and their coaching announcement and what has come with that. But right now, I want to take you to a great announcement from Team Michigan.
You know who it is, baby. And I'm here to tell you about the new youth basketball tournament in Michigan. Team Michigan basketball has done the work. It's prime time. They are PTPers, baby. Get ready for a scary good basketball tournament Halloween weekend at the venue of all venues, Baby Grand Traverse Resort. I'm talking about a diaper dandy, baby. I mean awesome with a capital A. A basketball tournament that is designed with the entire family in mind. Escape to a 900-acre northern Michigan resort just outside of Traverse City. Enjoy 54 holes of championship golf, spa, indoor-outdoor tennis, indoor water playground, fitness center, private beach club, 4 restaurants, shopping, and now basketball. I can't wait, baby! It's the stay to play that will make your day! Halloween weekend 2021. Check it out at www.boosketball.com. Register your team soon. This one is going to fill up quickly. A basketball tournament at a resort. That's a slam, bam, jam, baby!
Yes, sir. Shout out to Basketball. That's going to be a good time. I'm excited myself, especially after spending the week in Detroit at the Horatio Williams Summer Slam. Shout out to my guy H again. Thank Horatio Williams Foundation, Gilead Science, and Dick's Sporting Good. H is doing a great thing. I don't know if you guys know, but for our listeners, Horatio Williams, along with my guy TJ Kelly, was able to bring in Adidas in a major way. They supported several schools, got them shoes, got them gear, got them bags. Brought schools as far as Muskegon. Shout out to Coach Keith Guy at Muskegon. Brought them in to stay overnight, Terry. They ended up going to a Tigers game. And this is all from Horatio Williams Foundation doing a great job. And there's no comparison. I think the only time people was doing something that's this impactful for the city of Detroit in sports was a guy named John Rutherford, who did that back in the day several times over. So the standard has been set high, and we continue to see great things. So speaking of that, speaking of great standard, we'll transition to our next topic. And again, thanks, Rod Wilson, for your great question. I hope you stick around and ask some more insightful questions. And we also welcome your questions and comments out there. And I know Aaron Mays is listening. I know my guy Demetrius Blackshears, Carl Blackshears, my guys Alton Gunn, so many people to name who are listening. Chauncey Billups and Jason Kidd, they both got their just due. We knew this was coming. We knew Big Shot was going to get an opportunity. It was 5 years ago. They were talking about him possibly being the GM in Cleveland. Everybody said that was going to be a hatchet man job because his job was going to be to fire his best friend. Hey, man, it's tight out here, but Chauncey passed on that. Got along, was on TV covering the finals. Chauncey was literally, as they say, the mayor of the NBA because he played on so many teams. Same thing with Jason Kidd. I can put them in the same conversation. Jason Kidd had 2 head coaching hires. They thought he was going to get the head coaching job for the Lakers. He kind of just laid in the background, and now he's going on to the Dallas Mavericks. But going back to Chauncey, and thank you again, Orlando, now we're hearing this talk of what took place almost 20-plus years ago, a settlement that took place for the alleged sexual assault that wasn't adjudicated. They didn't go to court in that regard. So my question, I'll start with you, Terry, is why now? Why are we hearing this now? Is this considered good journalism? I mean, matter of fact, Sports Illustrated today ran a story. Sports Illustrated ran a story questioning the hire. And now they're trying to leave it at the feet of the Portland Trailblazers because supposedly in the press conference, a media person posed a question to Chauncey about, this looming thing. And Chauncey said, it shaped my life. So the follow-up question was, shape your life how? And the Portland Trailblazers kind of ended that. With that being said, man, give me your take on both Chauncey Billups and Jason Kidd, not just the quality of them getting these coaching hires, but I think we all can agree they're more than qualified to do it. But these other issues that are coming up, what do you think about that?
Well, I think now that, speaking on the Big Shot, I think he's under, a different microscope now. I mean, they're taking different looks at, himself as a person now that he's a head coach, and a lot of it is not fair. A lot of it is fair, but at the same time, man, a lot of this does have to do with Damian Lillard. And because, and I say because of Dame is because people think that Dame is on his way out, and Dame is, he won't say it, but you could just sense a sense of frustration out of Lillard. I mean, it's to the point, man, where he's doing all he can do, and his time is running out. And so I think this hire right here was really important because it's like, is Dame going to approve? And I think it causes you to look differently. But my blame, honestly, goes on the organization. I mean, as seen in the press conference, Chauncey was ready to answer the question. I think that was a good growing point for him as a person to kind of get, his sense of closure in this, because, it's one thing to hear from an insider, and it's one thing to hear from the man himself when he's in his hiring, like when he's at that point where he's getting the job and he's getting introduced. So I blame this on Portland. I mean, let the guy speak for himself. I mean, I know you're trying to protect your coach and not trying to have him say the wrong thing, but I think Chauncey Billups is he's experienced enough to what to say on TV, how to display himself, and to get his point across the right way. So I put this on Portland, but the whole Jason Kidd thing, I don't think that situation is going to work out. And I say that because the amount of power that they give Luka, and I don't really like how I love how players have that power, but when it goes to a sense of like him being unhappy about something, and all of a sudden everyone's out the door, it's just like, okay, I think that becomes a little bit a problem, because then players start to lose respect for the front office, the organization, because they're like, damn, we got to answer to Luka before we do our coach. And I think that builds turmoil, and I don't think it kind of I don't think it builds proper team camaraderie. When you're trying to build something and help a young star get to that championship level. So I think both situations are very different, but I do blame for sure that whole Billups situation on the Portland organization.
Yeah, excellent points, Terry, and especially dealing one with Chauncey. I know we're dealing with two issues right now. I think that even had he answered, it still wouldn't have been satisfactory. Because when do you give a satisfactory answer? And what Orlando shared with me, Orlando just got back from Portland. He was out there supporting team Kyra Jefferson. Shout out to Kyra and all that she's accomplished this season. He said they're split down the middle. So that tells me that even if it's almost like I'll argue that Portland, the Trailblazers are taking the heat, because even if Chauncey would have gave a satisfactory answer, you still gonna have people who gonna show up.
That's true.
At the Atlanta Falcons practice when Mike Vick comes, because they got issues with dogfighting. Also, your point you made before I go to the fellas too about Jason Kidd, you really highlighted something for me, because I think the benefit of Jason Kidd's hire, you say it may not work, but I'll argue a benefit for the same reason, is you finally have a personality that's bigger than Luka. Okay. Mark Cuban is the owner. He's the man, but he's not a ball player. Carlisle was, the man. He had won a chip several years ago, but he don't hold that. Luka's the man. But now, Luka, you ain't nothing compared to Jason Kidd. Because what Jason Kidd can tell you is that, excuse my language, you ain't done shit. You know what I'm saying? You Luka, and you this and that, but have you won? So check yourself, listen to me, and let me help you. So that's why I would argue it would work, and it makes me have a little bit more insight into the actual hiring itself of him. And again, Orlando was on the ground. He was on the ground in Portland, and from listening to the talk shows and whatnot, it definitely was a split type of situation. So I take it like this as I go to Patrick. If it was split, if he wins, he'll win everybody. If it was already quote unquote 50-50, right. If he has success there, and more importantly, keeps Dame Lillard for a year or two, it's good. So all things being said, it may end up have worked out like it need to. Patrick, you've been hearing what's going on. What's your overall take on the Jason Kidd hire, the Chauncey Billups hire, and the controversy that's coming? Because here's one thing. I know there's another coach out there on the West Coast who has some sexual assault allegations going on, and he ain't had no kind of discussion. I'm referring to Luke Walton, Sacramento whack-ass Kings. Yeah, I'm saying that because they not winning. Ain't nobody talking about them. He's under no scrutiny, and it's a done deal. Nobody's even talking about it. Right. Sacramento Kings. So whether you want to respond to that directly or not, give me your thoughts on the Chauncey Billups hire, Jason Kidd hire, and the so-called controversy that's come along with it, Patrick.
Well, when it comes to the not talking about it and it comes to the talking about it, I think it looks a little bit different. And I think it's a good hire. It's all, you never know. You know what I mean? Like, we don't know if Dame Lillard leaves, they're not going to make the playoffs. I don't care if Chauncey Billups is the next Phil Jackson. They're not even going to make the playoffs. So, and then they play in a market where where I'm from, you never watch a game.
Exactly.
So
You always tired. We
be
always tired of watching it.
if Dame leaves, they'll be irrelevant. And he's in a position now where this profession that he does, they go by results. They breed results. So, if he gets a winning record, then okay, he's got a chance. But if not, he's out. He's gonna be out just like anybody else. Yeah. And I hate the Mavs hire. Then that's just I got nothing.
You don't like it either. You and Terry.
I got nothing against. Like I got nothing against Jason Kidd. I think he's a mediocre coach. I think he's extremely mediocre as a coach. He had a beneath mediocre run in Brooklyn. He had a beneath mediocre run for the Bucks.
Yeah.
Let's not forget this guy threw a Gatorade on the court.
Yeah.
Water. It was water. He didn't waste Gatorade. It was water.
Okay.
Yeah, somebody bumped into him on purpose, man.
That's a grown man still with baby attitudes.
But
water on the court because ref ain't called something for him.
He just won a chip in the bubble with LeBron as an assistant. Is there anything to add to that? He's a championship level coach.
What's the guy's Eric Spoelstra? You ever know? Has he won anything since LeBron left?
Okay. Well, we'll see what's happening with that. John, let's go to you. And I hate to always potentially put a box out there for you from a historical reference, but I can't help it. Definitely want to hear your thoughts, but also because you've been in the hot, sweaty gyms, you've talked about openly and privately the plight of African-American coaches on every level. You talked about those unwritten rules of how many players of African-American descent could be on the floor at a time. Are we seeing the same trope over and over again of the high scrutiny that's placed on African-American coaches compared to other coaches? Or is it just, hey, it's newsworthy, it's valid, so they want to bring it up, and we may even be overreacting to it? What do you think?
Well, there's no doubt there's some truth to what you're saying, and history bears that out. I mean, how many times have you heard a very talented black man, and I don't care what field you're in, what business you're in, make a statement to say, I had to be twice as good as everybody else? Well, when you hear it the first time, when you're a young guy, you think about it. But man, I've heard this since I was old enough to comprehend. So, there is a scrutiny of a black coach that is more than if you're a white coach. That's true, and it'll be true tomorrow too. And until that person is judged on an even base, well, then we got what you call racism. But let me say this. A black man who don't care about that crap, who says, I don't care what you think about me. I don't care if you like the way I coach and you're a sports writer that weighs 300 pounds. As soon as the interview's over, you're going to go get a bucket of chicken wings. You're just not going to, you just don't let him bother you. That's who I take my cap off to. John Thompson. I don't care whether you think I'm playing full court defense and I'm pressuring every pass. I don't care if you don't like that brand of basketball.
So Big John brought it right back to him, huh?
Well, of course, he said, I'm not here at Georgetown University to please you, and but the scrutiny is much different, and when it comes time to Chauncey and Jason Kidd, let's hope that Chauncey gets a couple more players on that team. They can put the ball in the basket and make Damian Lillard and that team better. And Jason Kidd, hey, listen, it's going to challenge his communication skills because what Terry brings up is very valid. I've seen it over time, and his ability to get him to come into the fold is going to be big. But that's always been the history of being a coach in an NBA. Wilt Chamberlain, when he won his championship out in LA, Bill Sharman had to convince him to say, hey, you know, let's pass the ball out of the block more. Let's look for your players more. Let's be more team conscious. And they won. Okay, so I mean, this has been a give and take and a struggle for an NBA coach since they formed this league. It hasn't changed. Okay, It's been the same problem. Who's the guy that can get his team together and put them in the right spots to win? And you know, you need in Chauncey's place, he needs some more weapons. He doesn't have enough.
Yeah,
it's proven. David is a great player to watch play, but one doesn't.
Seen it too many times.
Yeah, you know, I mean, so he needs. You know, we have an old saying in coaching. You know, you can't make chicken salad out of chicken shit. Okay, you need players. Okay,
yeah.
Players make you a better coach than if you don't have players. You know, you can coach your ass off, and you can be 500 and have done a really good job. And a guy that's got more players than you may not even be as good a coach as you, but he's going to beat you.
Yeah.
Okay? So, you know, you need talent around you, and then you need those guys to cooperate. And let's just hope that Chauncey gets a little help from the owner.
Yeah. Because the tough thing is that I don't think Portland is a destination for people. No. They play that bag, and then they're going to have to let C.J. McCollum go and everybody else and unload. Let's take a break right now. I want to go back to Team Michigan, but I also want to acknowledge again the support from the Horatio Williams Foundation, Dick's Sporting Goods, as you see, as well as Gilead Sciences. And when we come back, we'll talk about the new I-96 pipeline. We'll talk about Coach Thomas Wilcher of Cass Tech going on to Michigan State as a football analyst. So with that, we'll go to Team Michigan. Take us away.
You know,
we're so happy that our son is playing AAU basketball.
Well, let's be honest. As much as we enjoy traveling with our son from tournament to tournament, who really likes sitting in a hot gym from sunup to sundown in a strange city with absolutely nothing to do?
This is just how it is. Hot gyms, tiny hotel rooms, horrible food, and nothing to do.
Well, my friend Tracy's son's team found a new series of basketball tournaments designed with the entire family in mind.
Where?
Team Michigan Basketball is holding a series of basketball tournaments in Grand Traverse Resort and Spa, just outside of Traverse City, Michigan.
Well, what does this basketball tournament offer that the others don't?
A full spa, 3 golf courses, indoor swimming, playground, multiple restaurants and bars, casino gambling, great basketball shopping, and so much more.
Wow! Where can we find more information?
Their first tournament is this Halloween weekend. Tracy says visit boostball.com for information about the first tournament. Where are you going?
I'm going to call the coach. We have to make sure he signs the team up for all of their tournaments.
Yes, sir. It's going to be a scary good basketball tournament. SPS will be in the building for Boostball Halloween weekend. I know a lot of people are headed down to the ATL, baby. ATL, shorty, that is, for the AAU tournaments that are coming along. They're opening up that recruitment period. It'd be great to watch social media to see what happens. But staying local, referring to Detroit, that is, my hometown city, Thomas Wilcher, Coach Thomas Wilcher, head coach for Cass Tech, is now headed. He's going to keep his colors. His color scheme don't change, John. He can keep wearing that green and white because he's coming up I-96 to Michigan State University. Coach Mel Tucker, again, no surprise in him bringing in great talent. And you got to pose the question, you know, what took so long? And other people pose the question, why is he going to be wearing green and white and not maize and blue, where he went to school at? And let's be honest, where he played a huge role, especially with the Metro Detroit recruiting scene, of helping players go on to Michigan. Not saying that those players weren't of high caliber to go themselves. So I guess I'll start with you, Terry. And I know when I start talking Michigan State football, you really don't want to hear all that because you're all about that Scarlet Gray down in Ohio at Ohio State. But Coach Thomas Wilcher, throughout your high school career, I know you are familiar with him because he's been an outstanding high school football coach, winning several state titles and city titles. Good guy. He and I chopped it up a little bit earlier today about what's going on. He's just low-key waiting for the transition to happen. But what do you think about when you hear Thomas Wilcher headed to Michigan State, Terry?
Well, first, I just like to say that, huge steal for MSU. I mean, when I think of Cass Tech football, I think of the prestige it brings. I mean, I hear about Cass Tech, and I'm in Lansing. I'm about an hour and 30 minutes away. I'm like, oh, Cass, King, all those teams just have a different level of intensity and prestige, with their brand of football. And so with Coach Tucker building a new identity at MSU, that's perfect. I mean, someone who kind of, has their stripes in the Metro Detroit area could lead a recruiting pipeline with future players coming in that I think Jim Harbaugh thinks he needs. Needs more than he thinks. I mean, I don't know if it was a sense of arrogance or whatever, but I mean, I think that's something that you want to dive into. You can't forget your roots. That's something. What happened?
They were teammates.
And even worse.
They played football in Michigan together.
Even worse. I'm like, even worse. I'm glad you brought that up.
Patrick coming with the T. He like they were teammates. They played together.
Even worse. I mean, if it's beef, like what beef could be that bad to bring Michigan football back to what it used to be? I feel like that's something that they could have used. I mean, the voice. I mean, Detroit is a powerful recruiting area. I mean, a lot of guys coming from everywhere. I mean, Penn State for sure, always. So they snagging somebody from Cass Tech. Always. Michigan needs Michigan football. I hate speaking on them, but they need to dive in. They need to dive into that. I mean, it's something that they're missing out on. I mean, you can't forget the players in your backyard and the resources in your backyard. And so Coach Tucker, props to him, man. Snag them, get them, because Michigan's going to keep losing them the way they keep rolling like this. So big props to him. Michigan State is definitely going to identify with that winning culture that Cass has always had. And like what Coach Watkins said, you can't forget the kids in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
I think you made an excellent point with saying it was arrogance.
Yeah, I mean, no.
Arrogance,
hey, Ann Arbor, there's 2 A's in Ann Arbor, so arrogance could be it.
Yeah.
Thomas Wilcher also connected with the Horatio Williams Foundation. I mean, well, people don't even know when Mel Tucker came to town. We made that connection, helping reconnect him with Detroit. Thomas Wilcher was one of the key people that helped put those coaches together. We were all on the phone. We were going to have an actual in-person meet and greet the SPS was going to be a part of, but we had this thing called the coronavirus, if you guys remember, hit us. But Thomas Wilcher was instrumental in that. So this is nothing new. But, yeah, I guess it does beg the question, to your point, Patrick, and I'll go to you on this, was it arrogance? Like, this is your teammate, this was your homeboy. And then I'll quote a line from The Godfather. I'm not sure if it was 1 or 2. I got passed over. It's like when Fredo was like, what happened? Because Coach Bellamy, won the state championship. All due respect to him, he won the state championship, but Thomas Wilcher was getting chips too. And it was like sometimes, and I'll ask you this, give me your opinion, Patrick. Sometimes the person is right there, but they're not really appreciated until, I don't know, other things happen. I don't know what it could be, but give me your take on what you think on where we are right now with Thomas Wilcher going to Michigan State, and why was he not in Ann Arbor a long time ago?
I think it's an excellent pickup. I think that Bellamy got the nod over him probably because of being younger and having some NFL pedigree, maybe. Played in the league for a couple of years. I don't know. But, when you come down to being able to recruit Detroit, it's been a hotbed these last couple of years. The state of Michigan is hot with football players. I mean, there's boys going big time places, Yeah. And
I want to shout out Coach Orlando. Sorry about that. He says, own your neighborhood.
Yeah, you have to. You have to.
I like that. You have to.
And
Mel Tucker, as we were just complimenting him, and I'm staying with you right now, Pat. I just want to add this. As we were just complimenting him on his recruiting prowess, he's not just leaving it to the prep players, you're like, dude, Thomas Wilcher is out here, and that role analyst, and maybe you can talk about it too, John. Like, to kind of define what an analyst is. But Patrick, I'm sorry, I couldn't help but add those comments that Orlando made as well as what you're saying.
Yeah, but that was it, really. You know, the arrogant assholes of Ann Arbor will do what they do, and for the last 10 years, I've just been praying on them to keep being them, because if they keep going down, I just want to watch it. I love it. It's a great thing to do. There's nothing better.
Terry, a whole lot of good fodder. Terry loving this.
You could never have a better Saturday than a Michigan win. I mean, a Michigan State win and a Michigan loss. This is the greatest thing in the world. But I will say, like, to what you said, that this thing isn't new, and to that, my dad, when Coach D'Antonio first took the job at Michigan State, set up exactly what they did with Tucker at Cass, and had a what do they call it? A clinic.
Yeah, and those are important. Making those.
They had dinner at Mario's and everything like that. Those used to happen every year. They're very important, because it gives you some relationship building in Detroit, and starts off the groundwork for you.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Yeah. I know one person who would disagree with your comments is one of our frequent guests is Coach Kevin Marshall out of Bridgeport. He's a huge Michigan fan. He'd be mad, but Terry don't have no
sorry to hear that.
What you said. He said sorry to hear that. So, John, take us into the actual role of an analyst. Like I said, we talked offline. The last high-profile analyst I saw, or I remember a couple seasons ago, was Steve Sarkisian, if I remember correctly, who was in battle and left USC, went on and came on board as an analyst for Alabama, your guy Nick Saban, and then transitioned, to getting that role down in Texas. So technically, explain to the viewers and listeners, what is an analyst?
Well, an analyst is going to help. Coach Wilcher will be probably put in a certain area of the game, whether it be the running game or the passing game or some phase of the game, and they will do the analytic studies. They will scout your own team. They'll look for tendencies. They'll look for opportunities.
So almost like quality control, like a compliance.
Yeah, it does. But let's put it in a perspective, okay? An analyst is a word that the college football coaches invented to bring in more staff, okay?
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of different terms.
Because I'm limited in how many coaches I can have, or how many. Unless I'm gonna have a water boy coach or a what's that going to be, a on the road coach, with all due respect to the role, but it gives me something else to bring them in under.
Right, and there's certain guys within your staff that can go on the field at practice and can actually work with a player, and there's other positions that you can't. But, for example, Thomas Wilcher's brought there for twofold reason. Number one, he's a football coach, and he's been very successful at the high school level, and he wanted to make that next step. So he's going to bring some help with you in developing these players, okay? Number two, and the number one reason, Mel Tucker needs presence in the Metro Detroit area. Let's look at it. The Oakland County League, the league that the Kensington Lakes League, where Belleville plays, and the PSL in Detroit. Okay? Those three leagues are producing major talent, 4- and 5-star football players year in, year out. Terry's right. Penn State's in here. LSU came in last year and got a player. Notre Dame gets players. Georgia has come in to the Oakland athletic activities and got a player in the last few years. You know, so he needs that presence. And he hit a home run with Thomas. You know, I want to just give a shout out to my old friend Woody Thomas. God rest his soul. Was Thomas Wilcher's mentor and his track coach in high school and his football coach in high school. Wilcher comes from pedigree. He's respected. He's going to give Mel Tucker has got to fight Harbaugh and these other people for this talent. He's got to fight him. You're not always going to win, but he needs to be competitive and he needs to win some of these battles, because there's nothing like getting a high-grade player from the state of Michigan, because number one, they're going to hate Ohio State and they're going to hate Michigan if they go to Michigan State. And the same thing with kid that goes to Michigan. He's going to learn to hate Michigan State, and he already hates Ohio State. So this is a very fertile. I believe last year's senior class, there will be freshmen this year, I think there was something like 17 or 18 4- or 5-star players that went to the Power 5 conferences. This isn't always been the case. It's on a rise here in Michigan, the talent. And Billy Farraco, my old friend, is producing some talent. And where is that again, Terry?
Oh, East Lansing, yeah.
Where? Okay, I just wanted to make sure you were listening. You know, so I mean, you got talent here, and he made he hit a home run when he got Thomas. Yeah. Thomas will do a great job for him, not only on the football side, but he'll give him a big push recruiting.
Yeah, I just think, you know, on a personal note, having known Thomas over the years and worked with him in the most recent time, I just get empowered when I see people get on. You know what I'm saying? Guys who've been working really hard. And to see someone like Mel Tucker say, "No, man, hey, come holler at me. We got you." And to see that, and we know that an analyst has a unique role, but it allows him to be a brand ambassador for Michigan State football and be down there in Detroit and help slug it out. And I think at the end of the day, guess who wins out, man? The kids went out. The kids went out because now you got a plug at Michigan State, you know, or the other school or Michigan, whatever it may be. And I'm glad of that. And I appreciate knowing Thomas over the years, and I want to wish him the best in that. Because at the end of the day, man, if it's Michigan and Michigan State, you know, fighting for share the Big Ten title, you know, I love it, you know, because our kids are benefiting. We got to keep sight of that. We got a few more topics, but before we go away, again, we want to thank Horatio Williams Foundation. We want to thank the Streets of Washington Podcast Network down in Houston and Clarence Barbour, and we'll get one more break from Team Michigan before we talk about Cade Cunningham in the NBA playoffs. So with that, we'll take a quick break and we'll come back, talk a little bit of NBA basketball again. So thank you, guys.
Breaking news. Team Michigan Basketball is presenting a series of basketball tournaments at Grand Traverse Resort and Spa. Get your teams registered today. The first tournament in this series is coming this Halloween weekend. Visit boosketball.com or teammichiganbasketball.com for more information.
That's right, guys. We're back at it. We're going into the final segment of our show. This has been a great show. We talked about name, image, and likeness. Chauncey Billups and Jason Kidd and their hires got some interesting points from our great panel. Thomas Wilcher keeping that green and white, heading on up to Michigan State and establishing that I-96 corridor pipeline, Detroit to East Lansing. And then I was talking about Cade Cunningham, man. He's been all the talk of the town. I would argue, with all due respect to him, he's probably one of the least hyped first-round draft picks that we've heard of in years, and I'd be willing to get you guys feedback on that. But I just posed a very simple question. With Troy Weaver coming in, the rebuild, the respect that the Pistons are getting despite them struggling, inserting Cade Cunningham as a #1 draft pick, does that just pretty much put the Pistons into the playoffs? Terry, what do you think about that?
I gotta stop you right there. The worst #1 draft pick I've seen was Anthony Bennett, and I had the luxury. I wouldn't even call it the luxury, but I witnessed that, and it was horrible. So I gotta.
No. And I won't say bad. I would say least hype.
Yeah.
So
he was the worst all around. Hype, talent.
Yeah.
But Cade Cunningham, man, he's talent is there. I mean, size there. Fits your point guard. The point guard style that you're looking for, scoring, body type. I say, he's extremely long. For a guard. I mean, you see that with LaMelo coming in and having immediate impact. There's just a way that he plays that I think will translate really well. Are they gonna make the playoffs? No. Am I proud that Cade has that attitude that he can take him to the promised land? Someone else had that attitude last draft, who was also drafted #1, named Anthony Edwards, and you saw how that went. I mean, it's a new league. I mean, you got to learn. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'll any given day, I will say, there is always a chance, but you got to learn. You're in Detroit. Detroit's still trying to rebuild around you, but this is the chance that Detroit will get their very own star, not someone who they shipped out like Blake Griffin, who they shipped in to kind of retransform them. No, this is someone they can start fresh. I'm proud of Detroit. I'm really happy that they can get somebody like Cade, who has such an attitude that he's not one of the guys where he talks really big. He stays very subtle. He grinds and gets what he's going to get. But I think they're not going to the playoffs, though. I got to chill that hype right there.
No bet. I appreciate that.
No
Patrick,
chance.
I go to you. Is Cade Cunningham, the secret ticket, the secret sauce to put the Pistons over the hump and put them in playoff contention?
I think he is, but just not right away. I don't think he'll be in the playoffs next year. But in the East, you only got to win 40 games to get in.
Right.
So what do you call right away? So you're saying not his rookie season, by his sophomore campaign?
I personally think that Cade Cunningham could have a growth that's maybe a little less accelerated than Jason Tatum.
Okay.
So I'd say 3 or 4 years, you'd be talking all-star. I really do. He's got like he mentioned, Terry mentioned Anthony Edwards. He can shoot better than him. He's gifted shooting the ball, and he's 6'8". He is huge. He's gonna be a premier scoring. He's the prototypical scoring wing, size and style. I mean, if you were to look at Paul George's game and then show him on a college court his last year, it was very, compatible. A lot of step back threes, a lot of getting to the mid range and getting up and getting your shot off over a smaller defender. I think he's a really good pick, And the only thing that bothers me with that is I think that Evan Mobley's a hell of a pick too. I really do.
Out of USC.
So he's so bouncy, 6'11", 7 foot, really bouncy, can run like a deer. You know what I mean? Like he is the perfect prototypical big man. Like them first couple picks are ridiculous. This is a good draft this year. It's been kind of big these last couple years.
Well, speaking of the draft picks, before I get to you, John, shout out to my guy, Coach Mike Smith, the referee as well, but also the founder of the Capital Area All-Star Game. We had a great time over at Weberfield High School with Coach Lott, Coach Adams. Coach Smith said the Pistons may trade the pick. Said they are the Pistons, by the way. Keep that in mind. That's what they're saying. KK, Mike, we appreciate you checking in and appreciate all you doing, man. Mike is doing such a great job that because of him, a lot of these seniors get a last hurrah before they go off to their respective colleges, both girls and boys. And he added the All-Star game this year, and SPS in the building. Appreciate you, Mike. Appreciate you checking in and what you have going on. But, on that same note, we got one individual behind the scenes who disagrees. He says the Pistons are going straight to the playoffs because, he got to sidetrack that family love going on.
Okay.
With Mike, there may be a possibility to trade
it. Right. Yeah.
So, John, what's your take on the question of the moment right now? Are the Pistons going to make the playoffs with the Cade Cunningham, or as Mike and others say, first of all, are they getting Cade Cunningham? And if they do get Cade Cunningham, are they going to the playoffs?
Yeah. Well, I don't think they'll make the playoffs. And, watch what's going on today in the last few weeks. And, these teams, all guys make a lot of money. Middleton, the point guard from UCLA, Holiday. They're inconsistent. Okay, they can get off you one night, and the next night they can't buy a bucket. So they have these droughts, and the Pistons got a good player. I like him. He can pass. He can play.
So you feel they're going to keep him? You feel they are going to keep him? They're not going to trade him away?
No, they can't afford to trade him away.
They need to sell some.
Because if they trade him away and he gets off like I think he will, they'll never be able to live it down.
Yeah.
They can't afford to give this away.
Yeah,
and,
I agree.
And I don't think someone's going to give them an offer they can't refuse. I don't know what that offer would be, but you're going to have to give him some help.
Yeah,
but he's got a lot of talent. I like that kid a lot.
Orlando has chimed in and said they got a lot of cap space. Their front office can make a lot of major moves, and let's be honest, Troy Weaver is really getting some real credibility as far as coming in and handling things the right way. And for the record, he also gets his haircut on 6 Mile and Evergreen in Detroit. Keep it real funky in the hood, too, so that they stand in his ear. So staying with this whole NBA theme like we did earlier, man, I just want to get a last round robin with the time we had on the NBA playoffs and kind of what's standing out. Is it a foregone conclusion? I'll start with you, Terry, that Chris Paul is going to win his first NBA championship? Because you look at either Atlanta or Giannis and the Bucks coming out the East won't have any match to what he's going to do. And I guess is there a potentially bigger story in Pat Bev with the push in the back? Like, hey, I still set this spot off. Pat Bev remind me of them times in the hood, hooping in the hood, man. When you
he's from Chirac.
I know that Chirac came all out, So with that, Terry, what do you think about the idea of CP3? Is it a foregone conclusion, barring any injury, that Chris Paul is going to win an NBA championship?
It's very much looking like it. I mean, with Giannis being out tonight, I guess there's no structural damage to the knee, but knee injuries, anytime you see a guy on the ground holding the knee and screaming, that's never a good look. I don't care if it's like a hyperextended knees, even back in AAU season, we used to tell guys, off your knees. I mean, those are critical to an athlete's success, as we've seen with Penny Hardaway, Greg Oden. I mean, everybody. It seems like knees is just something that you got to keep an eye on, and I think
you may be able to walk, but you may not necessarily be able to play like that.
Exactly.
If you're athletic that way.
And I think this is Chris Paul's turn right here. I mean, a lot of people were writing him off. Remember round 1 when he hurt his shoulder? I mean, the heart of a champion right there. I mean, to keep playing through it. I mean, we haven't heard. I mean, who knows that he's still not hurt? He's just playing through it, doing what, toughing it out.
And then speaking of writing him off, when he came back and they lost that game, and that big criticism was on him of holding the ball too much. That even my mama was like, he shouldn't have came back. He messed up the chemistry. You know what I'm saying? It's like, but to withstand all that, and then that emotional breakdown that he had with him and his coach Monty Williams, that just really touched me because that bond is there, man, and that's one of those moments you couldn't do anything but be happy for him. Let's stay on this note because I still think it's playoff. We kind of overlooked Trey in Atlanta, Giannis and the Bucks. But go back to Pat Bev for a second. I just want to say this for a second with them. Did that put him out of the league? You think? No. What do you think?
Fine. That's about it.
Yeah, and that's it. Shout out to Aaron Mays in the building. Aaron Mays say Trey Young is out as well tonight. He said it's a wrap for Trey. So Trey can Trey is not playing tonight. Yeah,
he's not playing either. Yep.
I mean, I think that Atlanta team that played. Yeah, what you saying? Potential elimination game, Patrick. Like, how could he not play? You saying?
That's weak. That's weak.
He had a bone bruise. That's a serious injury.
And we all saw it. He ain't that ankle.
Yeah,
that ankle did not buckle. We all been hooping our whole lives. We know what a real ankle sprain looks like. That ankle didn't buckle. He tweaked it a little bit. He got tape on underneath there and these big giant ankle braces on. He had so much protection. How you bruise your bone? And then you front running when the boys start playing good. You on the sideline jumping like a cheerleader. Just put a skirt on, bro. Get some pom-poms, bro. That's all. That's
they screaming soft. They
put a skirt on.
Soft, man. That's tough. That's tough. Well, here's the thing. I was gonna say, what do you think, John? I mean, we're at this point. I pose the same question I posed to Terry. Is it a foregone conclusion that, barring any injury, that you're gonna have these guys coming out of the West, referring to CP3? As Aaron May says, that was so Bush League that Beverly did. No respect for that cat. I feel you, Aaron. I thank you for sharing that. But what do you think? Who do you see coming out of these NBA finals? And I'll ask it. I'm sorry, man. How are the ratings going to be? Is this going to be good TV? Potentially the Bucks or the Hawks playing the Phoenix Suns?
Yeah, I think it'll hold up. They've done pretty well up to this point, and I think it's going to stay. I think it's been outstanding to watch. I'll tell you, it just amazes me how athletic and how hard these guys are playing, and you know how hard it is to be consistent, you know, and come with it night in, night out. But I got one thing that I'm worried about, and Chris Paul needs to get the Oscar for it. Beverly and Cousins and them were angry with him because he flops all over the place. Beverly was doing the dance the game before. You know, he did it and mocking him. And I see it. I saw it with Embiid. These guys are hitting the floor. You know, that's a lot of weight. You just see Chris Paul hit the floor and hit the lower part of his back, smacked against the floor. It was him that did it to himself.
Kicked his legs
out. It
up.
wasn't the player that was guarding him. He did it to himself.
He's trying to sell it.
Joel Embiid, if I was his money manager, I'd say,
stop doing that.
Hey, look in the mirror. You're 7 foot tall. You weigh 260 pounds. Keep your ass off the floor.
Yeah.
Stay on your feet.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's falling out like you know, and it's becoming a, you know, they're kicking the leg and stuff. And
Chauncey Billups made that famous.
It's hard enough to stay on your feet the way these guys are attacking one another. When they attack the rim and how they're defending them attacking the rim. This is big man basketball. And I'll tell you what, I have enjoyed this playoff more than I have for a long time. These guys are hungry, and they're the best players in the world, and they're playing their asses off to win it. Now, Phoenix, the big guy, Ayton, Chris Paul, Bridges. I mean, and then if you get 19 points from Crowder, who the hell's going to beat you? If you get 19, who's going to beat you?
Yeah.
You know, you know, so they got the most talent. Giannis is done. Milwaukee would have to have their head examined if they try to get this guy to play again this year. This guy is unbelievable, but he needs a strong legs to play.
Especially in the game.
Chris Middleton is not enough to help
everything in Giannis's game is explosion and power.
Man,
that's everything. He needs a knee. He spins so much in his game. He uses that spin move, and let's be honest. I mean, 80% of his points come from dunks or those little finger rolls that he just pops it in. But you got to get up there.
Yeah, no, it's unfortunate that the Chris Middleton's in the world can't step. But what did Aaron May say?
That was a great thing that Aaron May said. Chris Paul is no saint, but I respect his game.
Yeah,
I feel exactly the same way, Aaron.
Acting and arguing every call has made the NBA hard to watch. I agree. They're trying to sell it on that point. Well,
at his point though, Chris Paul he's always been a shit talker. He's always been talking, and that's what those guys do. They're highly competitive, and that's what they do. And what do you do if you're in the gym, Lindsay, and you go 7 or 8 from the 3-point line, just playing a guy at LA Fitness, baby? I'm in there going crazy. I'm throwing up the Jordan hands. I don't know what's going on.
For my Achilles, I was letting them have it and like chirping a little bit myself.
Man, this guy had 40 in a closeout game. Never been out the finals in his life. Never been to the NBA finals in his life. He, finally hitting that heel. Like, man, I'm about to do this.
Yeah.
You know, I thought it was. Nobody is really. Not a lot of people are saying this with the Pat Bev push. I think it was unprofessional. I think that it was cowardly and unprofessional. You could have pushed him in his chest when he was talking crap to you. You could have did something like that. But to push a guy walking towards his bench on a timeout and you push him like that, and he's got $45 million due to him next year, I think that's unprofessional. You could hurt ligaments or anything. That he went straight down like a little 5-year-old girl.
Yeah, Aaron says CP3 gave him the bit. The last thing I asked, was it supposed to be a goon squad member to come handle that? I mean,
yeah.
Right,
but that shows you how players don't like Chris Paul. Because what number one guy, he just put 40 up for y'all in a closeout game, and he just get pushed to the floor like a little kid, and nothing happens?
Hey, what'd you say, Patrick?
Let's be honest, man. Hey, Chris Paul went down, baby.
He go down. And nobody, and if it would never happen to any other player like that.
Hey, Pat Bev had a flashback and was at Marshall High School in Chirac. He totally forgot. He thought he was walking down the hallway. That's how somebody push you at school when they want to start a fight.
Exactly. That's real. We gonna see. Well, look, guys, we're gonna get ready to wrap it up. I think we had another great show. I think Terry had to leave early. He had a name, image, and likeness meeting he had to get to. Terry trying to get his swerve on. I want to thank our great sponsors, the Horatio Williams Foundation, Dick's Sporting Good, as well as Gilead Sciences. Shout out to our guys over at the Streets of Talking Podcast Network down in Houston, as well as Clarence Babor, Team Michigan as well. What you got for us, Patrick?
Right before we go, I wanted to say this. I forgot to say it earlier with the name and likeness thing, and you just reminded me. Fast forward 10 years from now, they will be using this as the index for recruiting. That will be in the recruiting. They'll be saying, hey, at Michigan, they're only getting 25 to 50,000 on an average. Our boys are averaging 75 over here coming this way.
Because that's going to be a fair question. Shout out to Jimmy Boy.
They're going to rank it just like anything else. There'll be national rankings and who's paying them the most.
Exactly. And that's what them cousins and uncles going to want to know. And Jimmy Boy says none of Chris Paul teammates stood up for him. That's going to be another conversation. But it's a different league now. Them was the bad boys, and Karl Malone would have put Zeke in the back. Oh, my God.
Hey, do you remember how fast that they stuck up who was that poked him in the face? It was the Lakers. I can't remember who exactly. Yeah. Was it Rondo? Rondo poked him in the face because he spit on him. Chris Paul spit on Rondo, poked him in the face. It wasn't 2.2 seconds. Brandon Ingram, who makes big money, not no little guy sitting on the bench. Brandon Ingram, hit Chris Paul quick. So I really think that speaks to Chris Paul's attitude with the people that he's around. What you talking about? A guy on the end of the bench that don't never play, bro? This your job.
Yeah.
This what you here for.
Yeah. And it's a different mentality. So with that, Terry, we glad we got you back from your name and likeness meeting. I know you had to run over there and work on getting some deals done real quick, but he made it back. Hey, that's like the kid that showed up late from the car dealership to get to practice. He had to make a move. But I want to thank you guys. I want to thank Orlando. He's doing a lot of work behind the scenes on the ones and twos. I want to thank John and Patrick Rutherford, of course, Terry McCord. And this is Lindsay Hudson with SPS. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.